Hey,
Week
welcome, week 2
on YouthTube.
YouthTube. That's
Yeah.
Staci's name. She got full credit for it.
I like puns. What can I say?
You sure do. Well, welcome to week 2. We all hope you enjoyed week 1. We really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, we
It
had a
was
lot of fun.
super fun.
We are YouTubers now. Maybe professional. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe we're gonna get a check in the mail from YouTube pretty soon.
Probably.
Just saying.
Probably not.
Whatever. We're hilarious. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, hey, this week we've got a lot of fun planned for YouthTube week 2. First off, we're gonna start out with our game. And so this week we played a game that you could play with your family at home to pass the time. Maybe you're searching for new things to do. It's not a super new game, so you might have played it before, but it's still really fun. We really enjoyed it. It's on your phones. It's an app. It's called
Heads Up.
Heads Up. So here it is.
Digging a hole, planting a tree, driving a car, going down the street, dodging, reversing, parallel parking, blowing up a balloon, skiing, yeah. Sandwich, eating food, yeah. High five, yeah. Chopping onion, walking upstairs and escalator, sign, yeah. Pyramid, yeah. What a 10! 10! Oh my gosh. That's good. Marching. Army. Soldier. A corkscrew. Wine cork. Drinking, celebrating. Pulling out a corkscrew, wine cork. Popping bottles. Champagne. Poison. Eating poison. Yes. Hitchhiking. Itsy bitsy spider. Zombie. Playing part, accordion. Oh, an accordion. What was that other one? Opening a bottle of wine. Ooh, this is much better this game than I am.
Well,
That was fun.
that was super fun. I think
Except for
that
everyone.
we figured out that you're way better at the game than I am.
Yes.
I mean,
with
it
the
kinda goes
words,
back and forth,
It was kind
I
of
guess.
hard.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't know.
difficult.
We were having a rough time.
There are some issues
But
that
we
came in.
tried and we laughed and we had fun.
We did.
That's
Yeah.
the point of games, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, next up is our favorite segment of our YouTube videos. It is
Rona made me do it.
This week we had to try something out. We tried the Koala Bear Challenge. You can see it was quite it was quite fun. Yeah, it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
It's super hard.
You can look it up to see like what
It's
it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that our video will be very much help.
But here's our attempt
Here's our
at
try.
the Koala Bear Challenge. Koala Bear Challenge. There it was.
We tried.
We tried. We failed.
What are
But
you gonna do?
what are you gonna do? So, make sure. So we thought of something that would be fun. Is to engage a little bit more on social media. Is whatever Rona is making you do.
We want to know.
We want to know. So put the hashtag Rona made me do it on your Instagram story or post. and then tag us on Instagram _TCC Youth, so we can repost you in our story, and we can see the funny things that you guys are doing because of the Rona.
Yes, but and also send us more ideas.
Yes, we need your ideas.
We need ideas.
We're running out of them, and it's only week 2. So
I'm not running out.
we got lots of ideas. That
We want some more. Give us some more.
Yeah, we want to know what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Also, you can follow us on our social media. So follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Don't just watch the videos. Make sure you subscribe. And then
Instagram. Did you say that?
Instagram. I already said it. Yeah, but it's okay.
Sorry.
Little kids, we don't have much sleep. We're all listening, right?
Okay, Instagram. Oh, what about Breakfast Club?
It's still going on, but it's happening on Zoom.
Woo!
Yeah, last week was super fun. Love to check in, hear about how you guys are doing. We keep on talking to each other, share highs and lows from the week, a little devotional in the morning. It's just a really good Sunday morning. You can make your favorite breakfast, eat it while we're hanging out. Super fun. So it's on Zoom. To get the meeting ID, you have to either text me, message me on Instagram, or you could sign up for our text in church. Yeah, which there will be a slide for the number and where to text. You're gonna text youth to this number right here on the screen.
I don't know.
Right here. Yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be there. Cool. Well, those are our announcements for the week. Stay connected. Stay plugged in. We want to keep hanging out with you, even though we can't be together. Tonight, we're going to talk about the image of God and how God has given His image to all of us, that we bear or we carry His image. As it says, in the Bible, in God's Word, that He has given us His image. And in fact, we're the only thing in the Bible that it says that He has given His image to. So we are all pretty special.
Extra special.
Yeah, extra special. But first, I want to just talk about kind of the current situation. And yes, we all carry God's image within us. But we experience some pretty tough stuff that goes on in the world. And right now, there continues to be something that is really difficult going on. That is COVID-19. It's really unfortunate, and it's crazy how one small thing can be super disruptive. Like I was just thinking about, we can't even see the coronavirus. Right. It's not like this like war or battle that we're facing that we can really see, but it's totally destroying people's lives, and it's really tragic. And it's the really bummer. And I mean, bummer's not even a word that really gives it as much value or whatever. Right. But it's really unfortunate. And so, but also on the flip side of that, there are some pretty cool things that have happened out of this situation, where we get to see our goodness, right? That's the bad, right? The coronavirus. It's the unfortunate thing. But then there's also the good in people have come out in that. And a couple examples of that I think of are our healthcare workers. The fact that people, I know that they have it as their job, but that they're still willing to go into a really risky situation. They're exposed to COVID-19 on a daily basis, but they are dedicated to serving us and helping people that are in need. I think that's so cool. And then people, just every day, I hear stories of people helping out those that are in need. If they financially can't buy groceries, pulling together the neighborhood and helping somebody out and going and buying groceries for somebody who really needs it. Or if there's some elderly people that would be really detrimental for them to be exposed to the virus, people go grocery shopping for them. They may not even be family, but they're willing to help them out. Cool. And then also, we live down the street from a school, and the teachers band together, and they're super cool, and they drive through the neighborhood to encourage their students.
We saw you, Miss Janet.
We saw you. And I just think it's so cool just to see the good that has come out of this really unfortunate situation. Really cool. And so tonight, I just want to spend some time talking about how we all bear God's image, and we all have God's image, and that good is God's image coming out in all of us. And so we're going to start out and talk about where in the Bible it says that we are image bearers, or we have God's image within us. So Stace, you want to go ahead and read that verse?
Yes, Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Good. Right in the beginning, Genesis 1:27,
Starts out.
27th verse of the whole Bible. We get God's image.
Boom.
It's kind of
We got it.
important if it happens in the first chapter.
Right.
Right? Kind of a big
I
deal.
think so.
Yeah. Well, a question that I have for all of you is, how can you do something for someone else this week that will reflect the image of God? Yeah. So we all have God's image.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that you could do for someone else that would reflect the image of God?
That's good.
Yeah.
We want to hear what you did.
We do. Well, I just want to spend some time kind of talking about the image of God and what that means and kind of what it meant for the Bible. So we're going to go way back into ancient times, and in the beginning, the people had a ruler, right? There was a king or a ruler that was in charge, and they called themselves the image of God. Now, they weren't God, they weren't the creator God, but they said that because they were in charge. They were the ones that were telling everyone what they could and couldn't do. So what they had done is they had these big statues built to represent how awesome and how cool that they thought they were. And these people of the land, they would like worship these statues because the ruler didn't like it if they didn't. Like they wanted them to know who was in charge. But God goes to his people, the Israelites, and he says that you shall have no other gods except for me, and you won't worship any idols. Because God is too complex for just one thing to represent who he is. So you couldn't build a statue that would represent who God is or anything like that because he's too complex. And so that was one reason why God gave that rule, is he wanted the people of Israel to understand that, hey guys, like I am greater than anything that you could create in the world because I created everything in it, which is pretty crazy, pretty cool. The other reason is we don't need to create a statue to represent God because, like we read in Genesis, is he's placed his image in all of us. So we can already see who God is and his characteristics by the way that we interact with each other. Now, before these nations were created, we pick up in Genesis again, Adam and Eve were the first two humans, and God gave them a choice in the beginning. He said, you can do good and treat one another well and point each other in a good direction and do things for the good of each other. So like I would do something good for Staci and Staci would do something good for me. And as we would do this for each other, we would point each other towards God together, and we would be representing the image of God that is within us because we're treating each other well. Or you can define good and evil for yourselves and try and figure that out on your own. If you're familiar with the Bible story, they decide to do the second option and try and define good and evil for themselves instead of following God's law that is set out before them in the beginning. It doesn't go super well, and we spend the whole Old Testament trying to figure that out. So God did give us his image because he wanted us to rule the world alongside with him. He likes to do things with us. He doesn't want to do things separate from us. But we decided to break his law, so we were separated from him. Now, God didn't really like that we were away from him, and he wanted to try and give us a better example of what it looked like to represent his image well that he had left within us. So he sent his son, Jesus, to come down to earth and give us a tangible example of what it looked like to live life as a good image bearer and a co-laborer with God. And so Jesus lives his life, and he takes on the brokenness of the world. He dies on a cross, like we talked about a few weeks ago during Easter. And now we have this example of what it looks like to live a life as a representative of God's image and how to do it the right way. Now, people were trying to figure it out on their own. Jesus comes, he's like, hey, this is what it looks like. What does it look like? It looks like serving others. It looks like not only serving people that treat you well, but serving people that don't treat you well. Giving what you have to others that are in need. Recognizing that everything that has been given to us has come from our Heavenly Father who created everything. That's kind of the example. Now, after Jesus ascends back into heaven, the church is created, and there are Jesus followers or Christians that are starting to develop these little gatherings that turn into the church. This writer, Paul, who wrote a majority of the New Testament, wrote a letter to a church in Galatia. And he gives us an example of how can we know when we are actually being good representatives of God. Like, how is there evidence that we can tell that we are bringing out the image of God in ourselves and in others? And so Paul gives us an example. And so Stace, would you mind reading that verse that's in Galatians?
Yes, this is Galatians 5:22 and 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law.
Great.
Pretty good list.
It's a pretty good list. The fruit of the Spirit. And that's it. So like, as we live life, we recognize that we fall short. We're not perfect, but we still have this image of God that's within us. And God, the creator of everything, gave it to all of us so that we could do life together. So we need to turn to Jesus, recognize that we are broken, and follow him, and like release control of our life to say, God, like, I want to do life with you. I recognize you created me for good. You created me to take care of your land, take care of your people, and I want to do this alongside with you. So help me figure it out. I want to do it alongside together, and then we follow the way of Jesus. Like, Jesus is the example. And as we do that, we will see this fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. And man, there have been some times where I haven't been super patient or been super loving or had much self-control. And I think it's because we can't go anywhere. But still, like, even though we mess up and we're not perfect, it doesn't mean that we're completely cut off. It just means that, like, we're living life.
Right, and we have him inside of us. We have that image inside of us. So when we feel like, I can't do this on my own, like, I'm not being very patient today, like, it's not happening, then I can just call on Jesus, who's inside of me, and say, like, hey, God, I need your help today to be patient, because I feel like I'm at my wit's end, I'm stuck inside again, and I need to get out, I need something. Like, we call on God and say, like, hey, we need your help.
Right. Absolutely. Because we learned last week that when we try and do it ourselves,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work out. So that's why we need Jesus in our life. Just, so good. Well, TCC Youth and whoever else is watching on YouTube, we
Thanks
hope
for hanging with us.
Yeah, we hope you had a good time. Thanks for hanging with us. Share it with your friends. We're on YouTube, so it doesn't just have to be youth group. Invite a friend to youth group. Ask them to watch the video as well. And this week, remember that you have God's image within you, that he loves you, he cares about you, and he gave you his image because he wants to do life with you. And so we hope you find this encouraging this week, and we'll see you next week for week 3.
Love you, miss you.
We love you and we miss you, and we hope to see you on Sunday at Breakfast Club.